We're glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. So when the blockchain resolution passed in May, you said, today the industry committee voted unequivocally in favor of a forward-looking technology that we expect to change the quality of our life, empower SMEs, and improve business models in most industrial sectors. Blockchain is a cutting-edge technology, and we aspire to make the EU the global leader in the era of the fourth industrial revolution. Very inspirational, and you're clearly a big believer and passionate in the technology. So why is it that you think that the blockchain technology is so important?
Well, first of all, congratulations for organizing these events. I think it's really important to go beyond the hype that took over a year ago and be able to understand the real value of the technology. And this was what we tried to achieve in the European Parliament. So I started working basically almost 4 years ago, 3.5. I was elected as a Greek representative. So after the crisis, I realized that there was too much control of the central banks to our deposits. And I thought that we should find a solution there. So I was exploring a bit what could that be, and I saw the discussion that seemed a bit crazy about like Bitcoin and without any control of the banking sector. So I saw that besides the philosophy of that, there was actually a technology that could help us find new solutions. So I asked the Parliament to have, first of all, the virtual currency report, that it tried to give some definitions. And then the blockchain resolution. Took me basically 3 years to move them, to even have an event in the Parliament. It was not easy, because the first thing you would say is like, it's like the technology behind Bitcoin, and you would have to explain that you're not working for CIA or for a terrorist group of people. So after that, I managed to get the resolution and also talk one-to-one to all my colleagues that participated to explain any concern they had. I had to address that. So I had to follow events like this one to understand the technology and to be sure that they can actually not stop innovation, but in the opposite, to make sure that we will have a roadmap to support this exciting technology. So I think the resolution managed to be a very positive one. So following the EBA and ESMA report recently, I think that was really more defensive. They were both more defensive. I think we managed to show that we're open-minded, and it was the first political body, I think, that big at least, because there are some countries that have managed to move very fast, that had this approach. And I think that after our resolution, we also had United States saying that, okay, not everything is a security. Maybe it's the technology that we have to find new definitions for that. So this is what was the spirit of this resolution.
Thank you for that. And could tell us even more about the resolution and what your vision is for Europe's regulation of blockchain technology.
So in this resolution now, as I said, first of all, we saw that we're very positive to the potential of this technology. And to achieve that, we call for legal certainty. So basically, we call for all the bodies of Europe and the Commission to work towards the direction of standardization, to provide legal certainty for smart contracts. And thank God it happened during this time that we are trying to have digital signature accepted. So we do have smart contracts happening, and at the same time, we gave a lot of funding to achieve that. So if you see now the MFF, the multi-financial framework for the next 7 to 8 years, you will see that we have achieved, because I'm working in several files. The resolution was just the roadmap. We have also blockchain, and it's eligible for funding anything that it has infrastructure on blockchain. And the money we'll give for digital infrastructure is up to 9.2 billion. For blockchain specifically, we have special pilots up to 700 million. And I think the Connect EU facility is around 300 million. So basically, we're giving money to take the risk, explore how this technology can help us. And the Commission, so intra-institutional, inside the institutions, we try to find solutions for certification, identity, voting, to remove bureaucracy. So we try to explore the technology at its core and supply chains, in everything. And since by its nature, it doesn't recognize borders, it's unstoppable actually. We try to use it to connect Europe. As you know, until recently we had roaming fees, we had geo-blocking, and now we're trying to remove these barriers, and I think this technology could also help us do that. So in the meantime, we are trying to give the people the impression and the understanding that it's a technology that could be used for good. So there is, I think, time left until this summer. You can apply for 5 awards that we're giving for blockchain for good. So for social good, if you achieve that with your application, it's 5 million for 5 ideas. And I think the resolution showed and highlighted that we want to move very fast. But the nature of, the structure of the European Union, if you compare it to US, it has more barriers than expected. But still, we're trying to use this technology to remove these barriers.
And what do you see as the next steps with the European Commission or other bodies to put together a legal framework or to provide that certainty that you were talking about?
It's going to be like ICANN for internet. It's going to be the same structure for blockchain. I think only by having this target, this aim, it's amazing. We launched it in November. Let's say blockchain association, so I leave that. The blockchain association, so this means we try to support, bring together all the industry, stakeholders, experts, academia, maybe some politicians, not many, to work together and work out ways and provide legal certainty very fast to this new technology and the ecosystem that we need to build, great solutions. Standardization, interoperability, the ones that I mentioned. So this was launched, and we expect that by the end of this month to have more specific guidelines for that and the framework for that. It's the Blockchain Observatory actually expanding into something bigger, and we will try to have it be an independent organization. I think that this is an excellent opportunity for everybody to not just to participate, but to follow. Even with the newsletter, you can see what's happening because it's monitoring everything in different member states. The same time, I worked on the file of artificial intelligence. And I think since most of the good ideas come with automation of smart contracts using blockchain, where AI is, for me, it's automation mainly. So when you have AI and blockchain together, we have even more funding. And I think all the sectors of our life will be transformed using these technologies, but we just need to have, protect investors, give legal certainty to the industry. Because since you're all experts here, usually, if I may ask, how many of you have e-wallets and like a currency, digital currency? Yeah, okay. In Brussels, it's like 2 usually in the audience. So if you have that, then you understand that legal certainty is really connected to the price volatility is connected to the legal certainty. So when you have weird announcements about Bitcoin or Ripple or how companies can implement that, or like if China says we will stop mining here, then you see the price volatility. It's quite insane, I would say. So if we give them legal certainty, I think then we can forget about the prices and move into the actual value of the technology. And I do believe that this will happen. By the end of the year, we will start to having interesting applications. It's already, I think, since the hype left, now we have the real value of the technology. funny thing is that in some cases I see the hype of the cool world blockchain is used even where there is no blockchain, parties of blockchain. Or I go to exhibitions and they say face recognition and blockchain, and they said, okay, how do you use blockchain? And they said, we don't, but we want to use it. So if you see beyond that, we will try to make sure that Europe will use this technology internally, and then the best cases we will force or try to call for the member states to use them, like I said, voting, for example, certification, to avoid duplication. We could have a European identity. We already agreed to work towards this direction, and blockchain could really help to avoid duplication.
That's really exciting. So much progress within less than a year. Mm-hmm. So for those of us in the private sector, what would you like to see us do to engage and support and help advance the next phase of the resolution?
Well, what would be really helpful was for you to participate also to these awards, social good, and to show that with numbers we can actually have results and improve the lives of citizens. This is what was the main argument to convince my colleagues to support this technology. So they want to see how this can change our lives. So one of the main examples would be we have 130 billion of hidden fees in Europe. How can we improve that? So I would say that when you use blockchain for financial services, you can find smart solutions to avoid these fees. I know Ripple is working towards this direction, of course, and there was a very interesting debate in the Paris FinTech Forum with Brad and the CEO of your Brad Ripples and this Swift guy from the banking sector. He was being a bit defensive when Brad was asking him to use this new technology. So if you would have good numbers for us, how this could improve transactions, time, efficiency, how people can trust it more, how we can save time. When I was trying to make a payment in Greece and I was stuck in Brussels for a month, so I couldn't go back home, I said, okay, I will use my bank account and send to my mom 2,000 euros. And the accountant said, yeah, but I need it today because everything could delay. We had an expiration date. And they said, okay, so what can I do? Actually, I could not use the bank. It would take 3 working days for 2,000 euros to go there in Europe, 2019. So if you see that I can send it now to you and you can have it in seconds, I think this is something that the politicians and the Commission would understand. The same time, we are working now, I think March, we're going to have, they're going to announce the FinTech Action Plan and the timeline to fulfill the obligations we took, to have the crowdfunding file, which means we can also use ICOs to raise money for companies. We have the sandboxes, ideas of how to use sandboxes and where they are needed. This should come from you and how you see this happening. A European passport to be able to transfer this technology across borders and what are the problems that you face. I hope the Brexit will not happen, but I think this should be taken under consideration. So how can we make sure that there are rules and a harmonized environment for this technology that, as I said, it cannot stop by the physical borders. And also best practices. So if you see best practices around and you would like us to follow this example, I have identified the Gibraltar example, which I liked a lot. It's open-minded and it has a very good approach for everything. But any ideas there would be really helpful. I think this could be, and also participate to these pilots. So everybody can participate to these pilots. It's not that bureaucratic anymore. I know that I thought in some sites, especially in the United States, they were saying there is a lot of funding from Europe, but it's so bureaucratic that you should avoid it. I think it was MIT. No, there's a lot of funding and you should not avoid it. You should participate and help us so that we can use your technology to find solutions. So I think this is what I would suggest.
Yeah, a lot of options there of how we should all engage. When you think about a regulatory framework that supports innovation while it protects consumers, you were talking about standardization, and some of the other principles you've talked about previously are around neutrality and scalability and interoperability. Can you talk a little bit more just about your vision with some of those principles as the cornerstones for policy?
Well, basically what we see here is that the technology is developing, and we have challenges there. We have to find some definitions, but interoperability, for example, or scalability, there are some technologies, blockchains, that they cannot scale. They cannot take all the transactions, or the fees increase a lot. So I think waiting and talking to people that they are working on solutions, I think we should try to move fast, but not that fast. We should allow the technology to happen. So the principle of innovation friendly means that we should not have more regulation or more directives like GDPR that could stop it. We have to be able to allow innovation. We have to be technology neutral. So we have to be able to allow everything to flourish, all the different blockchains. We do need transparency. We need to make sure that people understand where is the jurisdiction, who is the responsible of their data or of their transactions, and if something goes wrong and they lose their keys, can they ever retrieve it? And so basically there are some things that we should try to work together. I think this observatory and this blockchain association we're going to do, I've also called for an ICO and token observatory. Basically, we need an authority that could give some verification for all the applications or the ICOs of if they are who they claim they are. Because as I said, you can claim to be blockchain and have nothing to do with blockchain. How much decentralization is there? If it's permissioned or permissionless, and how safe you are if you have your deposits there. I think this could actually lead, as I said, we should lead globally. It could set some global standards, and we should do this fast. There are some member states working on cases. One of the other things we should work the next couple of years would be the definitions. I think we understand what is a security. We do need still to see what is a utility when there are services, if you have equity investing, in some ICOs, and also to try to define the hybrid features that some tokens have, and also get suggestions on how you believe we should regulate that. We have to we have to be careful about the anti-money laundering directive, know your customer, GDPR, PSD2. But I think we should not stick to that. That's why I'm not mentioning too much these regulations, because we have to allow the technology to explore and to develop, and then we should be very close and try to protect investors and also businesses.
In thinking even more ambitiously this technology is about really connecting the globe. And so have you thought of, Europe is well positioned to be a leader in the space. What other countries do you see leading, and how might the Union coordinate frameworks and policy with other countries?
Well, actually, this is how we work. We work with member states that they already have their own definitions. So we have, it's called, I think, NCA, National Something Authority. So each member state, they have their own definitions. What we tried to do with this resolution and with the crowdfunding report was to ask for a harmonized legislation, which means each one of you that want to test this technology to be able to stay in UK, but also get funding from, use this technology from Germany or Austria. Because you've seen several times, there are ICOs and they say, please, if you're a citizen of Germany, do not participate. So we try to have this harmonized approach. it's not very easy. I see France is working a lot, very well. As I said, Gibraltar, Switzerland, of course. Luxembourg tried. I don't know where they are now. Estonia is very open-minded, and they already have managed to have digitalized a lot their economy. I wouldn't say we're there yet, but at least we know how we're going to proceed, and it's going to be principle-based. We have to be positive. The parliament showed with huge majority that we're very positive to this technology. We gave a lot of funding, and the funding just started, so the opportunities are there. And of course, Europe is working with other member states. We work with other countries. We work with Japan. I think ECB works with Japan already. We work with Switzerland, US. So we try to work with countries that we can have, common values and principles together. So any ideas or things that we have not tried, understood, it would be great if you could let us know. I'm traveling too much, but not everywhere. I cannot be everywhere, but I'm trying to understand where the environment is the best and where the legislation is tested and it didn't create problems. Because the first time I enter a space like this, a forum talking about blockchain, when they heard I was a politician, I really felt bad. I felt I should leave. They didn't want me there. Also it began as like, and I think about, liberal anarchists on the internet that they would hate any politician approaching in the technology or taxing them. So I said, okay, but we need to be very positive, because if we are not positive and fast, then the resistance of the traditional players will increase very fast. And maybe it could actually even kill the technology. And since I sat and I listened to them, I tried to understand their concerns. And I understood also the benefits of decentralization. And I think this is the spirit also of the resolution. So I think if you have politicians that are there to listen and to protect citizens, it's good to have them close by. Before you have the central banks trying to kill the technology.
Yeah, I mean, we would definitely agree that we have to work together on this for all of us in the room. Well, we can open it up to questions that you might have in the audience. If you just raise your hand, someone will bring a microphone to you so we can all hear your question.
I told them all about the money, so they have no questions. All about the funding.
They're writing their applications
You
right
did
now.
all the nice questions, so all the right ones.
Hi, is it on? Yeah, it's on. That's a lot of funding. How can you talk about how you are choosing to allocate that, and how? I mean, obviously there's a ton of activity and a lot of. As you said, a lot of people talking about blockchain, but not necessarily doing things. I mean, I think you said 9.2 billion. Are you guys becoming a venture capital firm? What's going on with that money?
Okay, so 9.2 is the digital. Just a second. It's. Let me find. It's called the digital EU actually plan that we have for a digital single market. In total, it's 9.2. One of the 6 or 7 windows we have, it's blockchain. So we did not specifically talked about a specific amount of money there, because we didn't want to limit that or to put a ceiling on that. But it's money to achieve a single market in Europe and friends of Europe. So this is the one thing. We have 300 million from the Connect EU facility. So if you can actually go into that, if you Google that, it's under the European Commission site, you will see there are pilots coming and tenders and calls that you can participate. It takes normally 3 different member states, organizations, companies, organizations to participate in good ideas. If there is nothing of of your interest, you can come back to us and suggest a pilot or a call that should open, like to test the technology, so we remove the risk from the cost of the risk that you would take. And we have the InvestEU coming, which means a lot of financing too. If you cannot find a bank to finance it, we can actually be a solution there with EIB supporting that, European Investment Bank. We have pilots. We made sure that we will have 700 million of blockchain projects funded the next 2-3 years. I think there's a lot of funding in different windows, and also making sure that it's eligible for funding. This is also important, because if the word is not there, then you cannot get the funding. So what we managed to do the last 3 years is, in any file you see in Europe, we put a little blockchain there, so you can get funding, financing, pilots, and blockchain ideas for social good, the COSME, the Horizon, just research for how blockchain can help us to solve other problems, like the SDGs. I think it's very clear that we are going to support it a lot the next years to come. And there's going to be VC. So I forgot that. So we have the EIC. You can check that. It's a new instrument that Europe is building. I think we're trying to get 10 billion there to invest as a VC, as a European VC actually in Europe. But we have to solve some issues, like if we could be participating as, with equity or not. But we're willing to make sure that we're going to support the industry, because we realize that we give a lot of money to research, and we try to support academia, but then a lot of people are leaving. They're going to US to explore or to advance their ideas, and we would like to change that. So yeah, we're trying to fix it.
Hi, Eva. Thank you very much for all these insights. Very interesting initiatives from the government. The question is around successful implementation of these initiatives are expected to bring a lot of efficiencies into the whole ecosystem. Currently, European Union is already reeling under unemployment rate of around 7%. So this additional efficiency can really bring in or add to the unemployment rate. So what are the thoughts around addressing these issues?
Okay, I come from a country where we are close to 50% of unemployment, if you talk about the young people there, and women, almost 30 in general. So basically, I think we're increasing the levels of Europe. We see that there is huge potential to get jobs in the digital sector. So we have huge demand, but we don't have people that understand coding, data analytics, blockchain, AI. So what we're trying also to do, and it's part of the resolution, but also other actions that we have, is education, to make sure that people will have access to learn coding, and at least initially some lessons there, and to make sure that they were gonna choose to learn more, since there is demand of basically, I think we estimate 1 million of jobs are needed in this in the digital single market. Of course, a lot of that is blockchain too. So we're trying to make sure that at least the young people, young citizens, will have free tools to learn and be able to have these skills to not be unemployed. Because at this point, I have people that they are looking for jobs, but they don't have the skills, and then I have the companies that they're asking for people with digital skills and they cannot get them, so they have to move outside Europe to find them. So these are ways we're trying to respond to that. I would also say that we have the youth initiative, youth guarantee, the European Youth Guarantee. It's a program we have after you finish your university. For 3 years, we pay you and the company for you to get experience working there. So we cover that. This helped a lot to create new jobs. But I know it's not easy, and also we're trying to solve the tax harmonization we don't have in Europe. So this also makes it difficult, because if you have tax havens and you can move there, then you would start a business, especially when there are no borders in the digital world. You would start a business in a country with less taxes, right? So we have to make sure at least we will provide citizens, European citizens, a security and harmonized environment for them to invest in Europe. And give them incentives to do that. So if we say, you know, for the next 10 years, anybody that would start in this sector, we have legal certainty and not the maximum taxes, maybe not the minimum, 0.0 something, but at least a stable tax system and harmonized environment. I think this would help them a lot. So we're working to that, to achieve that. When I started 2014, this was not even a plan. Okay, so we managed to do a lot of things very fast. And the problem that we have in Europe, and I think this was one of the main reasons that UK was a bit upset with Europe, is that we have to compromise to move together. And if you're more advanced, then you have to compromise. This would hold you back. But at the same time, you have the benefits of a huge market. So trying to achieve that took us some time, but I think we have the vision, and we want to create a trusted environment with trust and quality for the citizens, and that's why I think blockchain could be really a factor that could change that, to decentralize even the control of of funding, of the banks, of us being able to have, equal opportunities, to make sure that we will not have everything centrally controlled, but to change our mentality and to make sure that the citizens will even control their own data. This was not the case. I've been fighting in other files to make sure that people will not have their data sold or manipulated, or they will be discriminated based on their Google searches. Like if you search for a disease, you could be discriminated or not even get a job. You see that's happening in China, right? You have a ranking system of citizens, and they revoke their access to different things, even transportation, if they don't have a high ranking.
Thank you. I think we can take one more question from the audience.
A lot of central banks are looking at central bank digital currencies. What's your view on whether the euro will ever be issued on the blockchain, and should the ECB be doing anything about it?
Well, I have asked for, how did they say it, a crypto coin, a European crypto coin, to explore how that could work. So we work with the central banks, but the central banks cannot force us to follow what they think. So we can have different approaches. My first question to Draghi was how he sees the cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin in 2015. And he said, we are monitoring that, but we don't consider it to be a currency. The same day he answered to me, there was a decision from the European Court of Justice saying that it is a currency, it is treated as a currency. So we can have different approaches, but we have to work together. And I know the central banks, they're also exploring this technology to be able to use it internally in the beginning. So I would say if there are benefits for the citizens, there are no banks that can stop us from using the technology. I don't understand why they were so defensive. No, I understand. I understand, but I didn't expect for them to be so, not try even to hide that, so uncomfortable for that. So you will be disrupted if you don't try to understand this new technology. I think you should see the potential and try to even outsource or implement or try to include in your policies and your strategy and your business model these new technologies. And I know a lot of people will be disrupted, intermediaries, for example. But we still need, when the ATMs were, this new technology came up, everybody thought all the bankers will lose their jobs. it's going to be just ATMs. There were more bankers to explain to people how the ATMs were working. And not everybody's connected. So not everybody will be able to have access to internet or these technologies. So I think I didn't understand why they were so defensive. So I think they needed some time, and I think we're gonna manage to work together in the direction of using this for to benefit the society.
Wonderful. Eva, thank you so much for joining us here. We're very honored. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.